welcome back to my channel for this very exciting new series where you spill the tea and we do our best to mop it up. I'm joined by my lovely wife as always. How are you, babe?
Hello, I'm doing good. I'm really excited about today's episode because we are talking about relationships and relationships of all kinds. We've got friendships, families, romantic relationships.
Even for us, now that we're parents, you know, we got a new form of a relationship with our son, and it gives us more empathy for our parents, what they had to go through. And even for my parents now, you know, I want them to be a part of our grandson's life. And so I said to them, you know, I'd treat them and fly them out from England to LA for the holidays so they can spend time with us. But then I looked at prices and I immediately regretted this nice gesture. But perfect timing. The lovely guys at Hopper came along, who are sponsoring this video. They showed me their app, and when I downloaded it, you know, they basically give you the best prices on hotels, flights, cars, everything you need. And obviously it's all color coded, so you can see the sort of the more expensive dates, and the red will be the more expensive, especially the holidays. But luckily, somehow, I managed to fly in a flight for $727 in the holidays, which is amazing. It's unheard of. So I'm so happy with that. And because my parents they're flexible with dates and we're not sure if they're going to be naughty or nice yet, so I can click watch this trip, so I don't have to commit yet, which is great. And because of that, I can wait and they can kind of find the best prices with a 95% accuracy. So I can sit back, relax while they find me the best deals, which is amazing. And let's say, for instance, you want to go away with your friends, you want to take a trip, you can do a price freeze. So you can lock in the price and then you can slowly wait for all your friends to commit. And if they do not commit, they change their mind or they want a fancier airline, you can change up to 24 hours in advance as well. They also have this carbon offset program. For every flight you book, they plant 4 trees, which I think is amazing. So if you guys are interested, click on the link below, hop over to their site, and new users will get a $10 Carrot cash reward immediately just for signing up, and they can use that on their first hotel booking. So, are you ready for the submissions?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do this.
My boyfriend loves me very much, but he has a tattoo of his ex's nickname. It makes me feel insecure. We've talked about it with no resolution yet, and I don't want to ask him to remove it.
I have so many questions.
I know.
Oh.
It's like, first up, where is this tattoo?
Yeah.
I think the placement is very important. If it's like on his chest or like somewhere where you always have to see it, it's like objectively not a good thing to see all the time.
And it's also like, how is this person still in his life? You know, is this a relationship that's still a quite fresh thing, or do they still see each other?
It's like an ongoing thing, because then that just adds a weird chemistry to the pot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it kind of goes more than the tattoo. It's the
Yeah.
symbol of, are they over this relationship? So I think that's it's a tricky one, because I feel like you're well in your right to ask, you know, especially in the right way, with the right tone, so it's not too attackive, it's more of coming from a place of love.
Do you think like humor would be a good place to, not poking fun at it, but just kind of like, haha, like when are you gonna cover that one up with my name?
Yeah,
or something, you
exactly,
know? Like
yeah.
it doesn't have to be so serious. Setting the tone in like a humorous way rather
Yeah.
than like an accusatory way.
Yeah.
So I think it's a situation, if humor doesn't work, I think just requesting like, hey, do you mind if you cover it up? Personally, I don't think that's too much to ask.
I agree.
You know, because like you're the person who has to look at it. And if you had a tattoo of your ex's name on your body, I would ask if you could just cover it up.
Yeah, I
Like,
think it's well in your right, especially if we've developed into a relationship where we feel like it's going to be a long-term thing. It would be pretty unfair for me to take that the wrong way, you know, I think.
yeah. Either way, please keep us updated
Yeah, please
on the
do.
situation.
I have a very difficult relationship with my mum. I love her and she loves me for sure, but she does not respect my boundary and wants me to control a lot of aspects in my life. I once told her that she needs to respect my limits, but she just scoffed at me. Recently, my sister, who used to get along with my mum, is also on sour term as my mum wants to exert too much influence in planning her wedding. I feel awkward talking to her knowing that they are in this fight. How do I balance a family relationship while protecting my boundary?
Family dynamics.
I feel like a lot of people can relate to this kind of family dynamic, right?
Yeah, relationship with parents are always going to be tricky because your patience is tested when you're with family. Sometimes parents show they care for you by overextending and trying to control your life and constantly nagging. Like nagging is a love language for some parents.
Yeah.
And if you're in a situation like me where there is like a little bit of a language barrier and it's difficult to communicate a complex idea like exerting your boundaries. Like I think if I talked about boundaries with my parents, they'll be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, there are no boundaries. Like, we are family, we are blood.
Yeah.
And so if it's a situation where you can't communicate that, what you can do is change your mindset about it. I know it's freaking hard, but that's the way I've had to do it. Because I can't change my parents, the only thing I can change is the way I come into a situation.
Exactly.
Like-
I think that, like, the whole reaction, you can't change them, you can change how you react to them. And we've done a lot of searching and learning is to understand that they are trying their best. They are a product of their conditioning.
Right.
Their parents might have been tough on them, you know, probably tougher than they are on you. And understanding and empathizing with the fact that they're trying their best for all the knowledge that they have. And I think once you can get into that headspace, and if your parents are angry and they're releasing a lot of their own sort of disappointment and anger out on you, and that's not fair, but at the same time, when you can understand that they must be going through it, and it's like, it's up to you how you react to that. Like Jen said, if you just let it be, if you just don't let that affect you and your tone, and you get reactive, then they're getting reactive, and it's two pain bodies fighting against each other. It's this stress that becomes addictive, and then without knowing it, you get addicted to this kind of toxic relationship with your parents, you know, and the same with any relationship. So I think trying to kind of be more mindful and working on yourself, like having more time for you, because if you're dealing with your mum and your sister and all this kind of stress around, you need to be good so they're good. And it's down to, I know it feels like a lot of pressure, but it's down to you to try and set aside time to have some peace, to meditate, do things, read, anything that's going to put you in a calmer state of mind. So then you can help approach, you know, the family situation easier, right?
Yeah, I really feel for you because you're just caught in the middle of a tough situation. But I think what you can do in this situation is just try and hear them both out.
Yes.
Even if you are leaning on another person's side more than another.
Everyone just wants to feel heard at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And even if you don't necessarily agree, but then once you hear them out, you usually can understand why they're thinking. You can understand to some degree from their perspective, you know? So once you can hear them out, you can empathize. And obviously, once they feel heard, they tend to approach the situation better.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, this isn't an issue about you. It's an issue with your sister and your mom. And I have full faith that they will come to a resolution.
Yeah.
What do you consider to be a close friend? When and how would you be able to know whether someone is truly your friend? I sometimes feel that it's quite difficult to build genuine friendships with people, especially as I get older. I'd like to open up to someone after I've known them for a long time and spend a lot of time with them. However, I am aware that I'm the only one who is constantly reaching out, whereas my friend is the one that rarely does so. It makes me sad and even exhausted to see that I am always the giver, while my friend still has reserves for me. However, I am aware that I am the only one who is constantly reaching out, whereas my friend is the one who rarely does so. I feel like finding and maintaining friendships, especially as you get older, is just a difficult thing. You know,
Yeah.
you've got more responsibilities, everyone's like set in their routines. And right now it sounds like this friend isn't being as available as you would like them to, which is like fair. You can't force someone to be like, hey, I wish you'd reach out more.
Yeah.
It sucks, but I've definitely been in a situation where I'm like, hey, I look at my text message thread and I see I'm the one who's always reaching out. But the thing is, like, if you're reaching out and they are responding back to you and they're like stoked to hang out with you, that's something you may have to overlook if you are being like rewarded in this friendship. If this friendship is gratifying to you, then I think like ticking the amount of times of who reached out shouldn't be that big of a concern.
Yeah.
You know, like for me, if there's a girlfriend that I'm always reaching out to, but when we do hang out, it's amazing and I feel heard and we have
Yeah.
this amazing connection, then the reaching out part I can just like get over, you know?
But some people have different strengths, right? Some people are good at the reaching out and the communicating from, you know, some people are good at showing up and being punctual. Some people, often the most enjoyable, fun friends you have are the ones that arrive late and never reply to your messages. You know, people have different strengths.
Yeah.
And I think when you can kind of like see that and appreciate that and kind of to some extent lower that expectation of how much, you know, if someone doesn't reach out and you get to like, they didn't do this and they haven't done that, then you're setting yourself up to be passive aggressive, to be resentful, and then you're both kind of pulling away at each other slightly.
What I consider a close friend to be is probably someone who is available, who does respond back to my messages. The label of friend shouldn't be so sacred. I don't know. It's not like you can cap the amount of friends that you have. So even if I meet someone like twice and we get along, I'm like, yeah, that person's my friend. You know, I don't say there's no like serious barrier entry to
pressure
be
on
my
and-
friend.
yeah.
Yeah. But so I think like in that sense, since I'm so open to just having everyone be loosely my friend, I don't really get in my head of like, oh, like has this person earned the right for me to like open up to them? I don't know. But then I think it is a personality thing because it is quite easy for me to just open up to people.
It's one of your strengths, and I think a lot of people have different strengths. I know for me, like I feel like I'm quite good face to face with people, but sometimes when it comes to text messaging, if I don't reply straight away, I could forget, and it's nothing personal. It's this is my best friend in the world, but I might have forgotten to reply to them, and then they might be thinking I don't care, but really I've just, it's one of those things that people have different strengths, and but also obviously you have to be true to yourself, and if someone isn't putting that effort in, and you just feel like you're fighting this losing battle, then I think you've got to listen to that. If they don't reply, if they're not very good when you're not with them, is it worth it when you are with them? So I think you've got to ask those questions.
That's good, yeah. Because I think there's some friendships in my life where I look at the text message bubbles and I see, okay, like I'm the one who's always reaching out. However, when we do hang out, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I feel connected, I feel fulfilled. So if that's that type of relationship with this current friendship that you're in, then maybe it's something that you can overlook on the fact that she doesn't reach out to you. But if it's one of your non-negotiables to have a friend that does pursue you, that does want to set plans with you, then I think it's important to find a friend that does that.
Yeah, and I think not forcing anything. Some people aren't ready to open up or be vulnerable, and it's not something that sometimes it's not as simple as you not being that friend that makes them want to open up. They just might be going through stuff that's a little bit too deep right now. And I think empathizing with that and you just trying to be that friend who creates a comfortable environment for them to want to open up and vice versa.
Totally.
Do you think that a couple can overcome cheating in the relationship? Oh, that's a big one.
It is a big one.
It depends,
It
right?
really depends.
It's all about the situation, because I feel like if it was, a drunken one night thing where they just blacked out, they didn't know what was going on, and it's an element of, I feel like there's some room for forgiveness there. Obviously everyone's situation is different, but I think that's more potential someone just screwed up and they weren't thinking straight. But I feel like if it's something that was, they were kind of talking and seeing behind your back for a while, and it was something that was a reoccurring thing with a particular person that was kind of something building more than just a one time. They were conscious of it. They knew what was going on. They purposefully acted out behind your back. I think that level of disrespect, and I think kind of that trust issues, I think it's very, very hard to rebuild from that. And
Yeah, I think if someone cheated and it's like a one-time thing and you guys resolve it, you guys talk it out, maybe do some couples therapy to figure out what part of your relationship was struggling for that person to have wanted to look elsewhere, then I think you guys can come back from it. If it's a situation where you're just gonna use this cheating example as ammunition for future fights, if it's something that you're always gonna be thinking about and it's gonna be in the back of your mind, then I think the relationship is doomed.
Yeah, you're setting yourself up for failure there. And I think it's also, how did you find out too? How did the person find out? If the guilt was too much and they had to come forward and admit it to you, then it shows that they have a conscience and it's something they regret. And I feel like when Jen said, they have to forgive themselves, because that's someone that deeply regrets their decision. And that's something that, you can't always just punish someone for a mistake. They can learn from that. But if they learn from that and use those mistakes as lessons, and I think you've got to listen to that as well. But if it's something that you found out you had to go through, or you found out through a different source.
Yeah, like if you were like going through their phone and or
Yeah.
you caught them together, like
Yeah.
and like and you guys are only talking about it because you
They got found out. Yeah. Then I think that's like, the maturity might not be there in a relationship, or the communication might not be there. So I think you have to have a really open, honest talk. I think get everything out, lay all your cards on the table, and if you feel like you can get to a place of forgiveness, if you feel like you can get a place where you can both move on and fill that unit again, then by all means give it a go. But if you feel like there is something that's not there, if that trust has been gone, then you've got to listen to that, and also try and work on yourself to make sure that doesn't stay with you. I know a lot of people have trust issues because they got cheated on, and that sucks to see. And not all people are bad, and I think it comes from a place of you being able to kind of have that trust within yourself to
My husband likes to watch movies all the time, at least 4 hours a day, and I'm becoming like him. I really miss reading books and enjoying games. I did suggest one day with no TV, and he immediately refused. Whoa,
It's a tough one.
It is.
Yeah.
Because I think like when you are in a relationship, you start developing characteristics from your partner and vice versa. And if you don't want to be the type of person who watches movies 4 hours a day, I think you don't have to be that person. You're not
Yeah.
obligated to sit down and watch those movies with him. You can even use this time to just continue to read your books, play your games on your own. There's a
Yeah.
lot of times where like Ben's watching something and I'm like, I don't want to watch this, and it's perfectly fine that we just spend the time that we want to do on our own.
Yeah, and I think like, of course, I can understand you don't want to watch your loved one kind of be too in this comfort zone and watching too much TV. You want to make them feel inspired, and I think when you're resisting it and when you're getting frustrated at them and that tone is kind of, why don't you do this? Why don't you read a book? Can't you do this like me? And
Yeah.
then they're going to resist it more. So I think the
Right.
best thing you can do is lead by example.
Yeah.
Like, if he's watching movies for 4 hours a day, sure, go relax with him for an hour. Unwind after the day. Put your mind somewhere else. Nothing wrong with a little bit of escapism. But then use that time, like Jen said, you can still read, you can still educate yourself, still learn. And if you're constantly living by example and your husband's seeing your energy and you're learning and you're living life to the full, that's going to inspire him to do more. I think much more than telling someone to do something.
I agree. And I also think leading by example is
Yeah.
the most important part. So when you are curling up with your book, make the environment very enticing.
Yeah.
Like light a
Yes,
candle.
that's what I do all the time.
I know, it's so good. Like sometimes like when I walk in and I just see Ben like meditating or doing breath work or even like reading out in the sunshine, it makes me like reevaluate what I'm doing and be like, wait, I actually want to join you because this looks really, really fun.
Everyone's attracting their own life. They're on their own path, even if it is your partner, and leading by example and trying to help them, because at the end of the day, the comfort zone, it's a form of a drug. It's an addiction. We get addicted to this comfort, our phones, movies, all these kind of things. We're surrounded by things that are trying to keep us addicted to this technology. So empathizing with your husband for, I guess, somewhat being trapped in that, and then trying to help inspire him. Maybe plan a date that can be an in-between. Maybe go to the cinema where you can still watch this movie.
That's a good one.
You get a date. So
Yeah, it's more of an experience together.
yeah. If
Yeah.
the cinemas are even open now, I don't know.
That's
but
true.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
You get the point. You just being conscious of it and making sure that you don't get sucked up in that, because obviously, you are who you surround yourself with. And if, you start feeling yourself watching movies all day, then you'll start resenting him as well. So make sure you do the things that make you feel fulfilled. Right, guys, that is a wrap. Thank you so much for watching this relationships video. If you do have any questions, submissions, any problems, please send them to spilltheteaplace@gmail.com and we'll try and feature some in the next video. Thank you to my lovely wife for joining me. Thank you to Hopper for sponsoring this video. See you guys in the next one. Bye.
Bye.